One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Hey everybody, welcome back to Chalkboard History. We're going to talk about Cracker Barrel today.
Oh my gosh, everybody's talking about Cracker Barrel.
Taylor Swift and Cracker Barrel.
By the time this airs, that'll be old news. People will be going,
oh, Taylor Swift will never be old news.
That's
She's
true.
like, she'll be like Elvis. She'll be dead and people will still be talking
That's
about
true.
her because
She's
super
got a
popular.
solid brand.
They'll be like, yeah, and what's her husband's name? And, you know, because after
was he an athlete?
yeah, was he an actor? Did he play baseball? You know, they'll never remember who he is. It's like, who was married to Marilyn Monroe? Nobody ever remembers.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, even though one of them was Joe DiMaggio, one of the most famous baseball players. But anywho, Cracker Barrel was, they had a few fun days.
Yeah.
Change the logo, back to the old logo. Uncle Herschel and the barrel are back.
That's right.
Eat your grits. Take your bacon.
God. Yeah. Clog your arteries.
Shut up, sit down.
But hey, they're clean bathrooms.
Yep, that's right. All right, so we're going to do, this is episode, well, we're going to probably do 2. We're going to shoot one, we're going to try another. So a couple of weeks ago, we unveiled a bust here at Rippa Villa of a woman named Anna Bunch. And by the time, if you're watching this, you may have already watched the unveiling video. So we may seem like we're doing these backwards, and we are, because we actually filmed this and
there were technical glitches. Circle back around.
So we have to circle back around, but it was quite a day. But I just wanted to take, a few minutes and really talk about who she was. Mm-hmm. Who was Anna Bunch?
When we first started managing Rippa Villa, one of the very first family photos we saw was a photo taken of the Chairs family on the side porch. It's christening day for the 4th child of Sally, who's Nat and Susan Chairs' youngest daughter. And so her daughter Jane, it's christening day for her, and she's being held by an African-American woman. And so we immediately were intrigued by her. Who is this woman? Why is she so important that the family includes her in this photograph? So we began doing some research and learning a bit, and then were greatly aided when one of her descendants actually reached out to you, Bridget, right?
Yeah.
Who was going to kind of help knit some of that story together. But
yeah, I had talked to a couple of former board members, and I don't remember if it was Corinne or if it was Alicia, who told me that I should talk to Bridget because they were fairly certain that was, her family line. And so Bridget came in and she started telling me all about her. And then she told me about the connection to James Stevenson, which connects to the events in Columbia in 1946. And she really became, for me, a very fascinating character because Anna Bunch, herself, her personal story,
fairly ordinary,
is about as interesting or ordinary as all of us. Mm-hmm. She was born in extraordinary times, born a slave, freed by the war, got married, had kids, worked here, lived here at Rippa Villa for a number of years. But I felt that what was interesting about her was how she was a representation. It was a face that we had, a face that we knew, and a time that we could, that she existed in, but that we could work with her within that time frame to tell this story. And I think she's just a really interesting person. And then so when Christy, who was our director of African and African American history, started doing the research on her, we found out all these other connections. Mm-hmm. And for me, then we started, she was pushing me like to work backwards. So like her grandparents, their names were Dick and Anna. Mm-hmm. And when I first like really paid attention to Dick's story, I mean, we don't know what he looked like. We don't know really anything about him, but we know about how old he was. Mm-hmm. And this dude was born before the Constitution was created. So he was older than the United States. And when William McKissick died, who was Nat's father-in-law, all of those slaves were busted up among, the different siblings. And so Susan got a lot of them, not a grouping. Yeah. And among them were Dick and Anna. And they came to Rippa Villa. Mm-hmm. And then they had a daughter, Elmira, and her daughter was Anna, and they were with one of the other McKissick kids. And so, I think Anna showing up here is not by accident, because they all kind of knew each other. But it's an extraordinary story to think about. When we had, a few episodes ago when Alexis was here, we were talking about Juneteenth, and she was talking about generational trauma.
Right.
That's not the focus of this, but this was a generational story.
Right.
And I started looking at Dick and Anna. That's one generation. Elmira, then Anna, and then her daughter, Ella, and then her son, James, and then James Jr. That's 7, right? Or is that 6? I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and it's the whole scope of American history, really, from the founding right up until World War II.
And then I'm looking at Bridget.
Movement. Yeah.
And, it's 2025. And
full cycle.
I think what's so great about her story, and I saw the emotion that Bridget had that day, was this history has always been part of Rippavilla, of Tennessee, of the United States. And it just hasn't been fully recognized or, I think, appreciated. It really, what we saw that day was we are all the same.
Yeah.
We're very different, but we are all the same. We have the same, we have the same kind of feelings about family. We have the same attachments, and I just think it was great.
And the group of people that were here were so diverse that day. I mean, you saw all kinds of colors. You saw the whole range of ages. The mayor brought his itty bitty daughter, but we also had people that were in their 70s and their 80s, and there was just this wonderful community spirit. And Anna is ordinary, but so is every other family we talk about. People come to the Carter house all the time and say, well, what was special about the Carters? They were ordinary people in extraordinary times. And I think one of the cool things about Anna's story and that generational piece of it, and we've seen this with the Macklemores, for example, the Harvey Macklemore that we talk about in Franklin, you watch one generation build on the successive generation. So Anna was that transitional figure who stepped out of slavery into freedom. But then her daughter Ella married a school teacher, which means all of Ella's kids are now going to be literate, and they have opportunities that would have never been available to Anna. And then, that just continues to build till by the time you get to James Jr., he's going to be a tipping point towards the civil rights movement. So you see each successive generation building on the generation that came before them. And she's a good example of that.
Yeah, and so you can come and see her. So if you take a tour at Rippavilla, she's here as she was, I think we know she was here in 1880, and I think she was here for a few years before and after, and then she died in 1898.
And she's so regal. That her figure is just so regal. She carries herself with this wonderful innate dignity, which I think is beautiful.
What's really great about the bust is it's not a creation of an imagination. It's actually based on this photograph of her. So, and it does really look like her. And that she was. We talk about like people today in Spring Hill because it's so big. There's 60,000 people that live here now, and there aren't many natives. Anna McKissick Bunch was a native.
She lived her whole life here.
She lived here her entire life. She was, I guess, she was in her 70s, right? No, I'm sorry, only in her 50s, late 50s when she died. She didn't really live a terribly long life. But she's buried. I was fortunate enough to find her grave marker a few years ago, which wasn't that hard. It was just there, and nobody had gone looking for it. But she is an important part of the story, and I think as I was looking at her just the other day, you go to these places, and even if you're at Carter House, but if you go to Hermitage or you can go to Graceland, you can go to a presidential home. These are all pretty wealthy people, or powerful, famous people.
Yeah.
I think what we often gravitate toward, Civil War soldiers, because they're the common man. I have the same feeling when I look at someone like Anna. She's just a common person. And she lived in extraordinary times. And she lived longer as a free woman than she did enslaved. And we should also not ever forget that. And that her story is representative of millions and millions of people. I mentioned to someone the other day that... We paid a terrible price to end slavery. It was a conversation about how it was so tragic, all these lives lost. And I said to this guest, I said, you're right. It was terribly tragic. Almost 750,000 soldiers had to die.
Right.
But 4 million people were freed. And the United States endured. Right. And the guest looked at me and said, I've never thought about it that way. And I said, I think that more and more we should.
Yeah.
You know, that, and Anna was one of those people, as was her daughter, who when, you know, Ella was only about 2.5 years old when the war ended.
Right.
She was freed as well. And in an ironic twist, so were a lot of white people. They began to be freed from this system, and that they could slowly begin to change and work toward a better future. So if you haven't been to Rippavilla, come and see it.
Come meet Anna.
Come and meet Anna. All right, thanks everybody.